I wonder if Doom Eternal's doing bad.
I don't know. Did it launch? I didn't know it launched.
Yeah, apparently it's been released for a month, but they're already dropping the price.
We can talk about that today.
Mm-hmm.
The old Doom action that came out on the PlayStation 5. Dip, dip, good, dip, 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 dip. It's good music.
It's always good music.
What people don't know is it's Ryan over there just, slamming beats. No, if Ryan had that kind of skill, he wouldn't be doing this podcast. He'd be making beats, making millions.
Am I off the camera? Because I don't see me. Or you guys still see me?
No, we see you.
All right.
You're there.
Seems like there was something else. Oh, I need to share. Share bears. That's what
Let it be
is.
known we're not waiting on Clint. That's the show.
Oh, you just now went live, so of course.
We've been live for 2 minutes.
But I told you to wait and you didn't want to. Just let it be known. All right, fans?
That's what
Clint has no cares for my physical well-being. He's a nurse that doesn't care about my sore neck.
No, because you're my friend.
That makes sense. That adds up.
Yeah. Doesn't matter how professional you get later in life. If your friend gets hurt, you're always there to kick them while they're hurt.
Yep. And if they're not hurt, you need to put a little to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Put them in a
Put
compromising
the old
position.
boots to them.
Yep.
And only until things get really serious do you back off. You push it right to that point.
Definitely. I like that.
We should get
Call that
next.
beatboxing, or
We should get Netflix party and watch a movie together.
We should. Will we though? No.
I'll do it. We
get
watch a scary
Netflix
movie.
party.
We never heard
Is
of
it
Netflix
something
party.
separate? Is it separate? No, I think I did hear about it. You told us it's
I
like
don't
what we were
know.
talking about.
If
Yeah,
it's
it's
already
like-
in the app.
You like getting the app together and you get to hang out and talk while watching the movie.
Yeah.
Which
The parsec.
which would kill our wives
sound
because
worked
me and
well.
Ryan are the worst at talking during movies.
Oh yeah. If the parsec sound worked well, we could just use parsec. But
Yeah.
it was trash, so I wouldn't do that.
Well, that's only because the canceler. If we're just sitting there not streaming, right?
Maybe.
Then I just turn the sound canceling thing off. Remember, it was only muting you because of the stream.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did figure that out. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to talk about some beautiful incoming stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's on the cusp of amazingness.
So pumped. Hunter, are you ready, buddy?
Yes. I don't know what I'm gonna say. What are we gonna say? Shooting the breeze.
say whatever you want.
What do
I've
you
got
mean?
mine.
Oh, you're talking about your little saying? Your little
Yeah.
liner?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got my line too. Where you been?
Right here.
Well, we're going live.
Hold on, do I need to fix that glare?
Wow, I already turned down my music, Hunter.
There you go.
Now it's just dead silent.
Dun, 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 dun.
This episode of the Delirious Dads Gaming Podcast is brought to you by Click Gaming, an esports freelance. Oh, good lord.
I love it.
Woo! This episode of the Delirious Dads Gaming Podcast is brought to you by Click Gaming, a freelance esports tournament company based out of Oklahoma. If you're located in the U.S. and need esports services, this is the ultimate gaming company for you. Contact Johnny Weaver at icychiller@att.net. That's icychiller, ICYCHILLER. Tonight on the Delirious Dads Gaming Podcast.
That grungy future.
I want all the games.
It's the year of the Rona Switch.
And now, the Delirious Dads Gaming Podcast.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Happy brunch.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Delirious Dads Gaming Podcast, episode 62.
What I'm hoping is that you're enjoying this smooth beauty with breakfast.
Yeah, that'd be sweet, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. As long as it's not Corona breakfast, you know.
Yeah. None of that jazz. Well, I'm Clinton
You
Stanley.
never know.
He always does it every intro. I'm Clinton Stanley. I'm here with Hunter Venable. Hunter, welcome to the show, brother. And my interruption pal over there, Ryan Maddox. Ryan. Every
Why
time.
didn't you
I don't think we've ever got through an intro in the show where me and Ryan
That's
have
part of the
stumbled
intro.
over each other.
It's part of the intro.
Okay.
I think that you're stumbling
Oh,
over
it's
me.
all- it's
and
all
you think
on
that I'm
purpose.
stumbling over you.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, it's not on purpose. We suck.
Yeah, it
We're
describes the
failures.
friendship.
Utter failures. Yeah.
Speak for yourself. Utter. I like that. He's an utter failure that makes cow
Mm-hmm.
sounds into the mic.
I don't know if you guys got the reference of the cow sound, but that was the interrupting cow. You ever heard that one?
I have it. I'll
Yeah.
check it out.
Knock knock.
Who's
Who's
there?
there?
I did interrupt you, so I messed it up.
That's a horrible joke.
No,
Oh,
it's
my
supposed to be. I thought you were supposed to say interrupting cow, and then when they say interrupting cow, who? That's when you interrupt them.
I was. That is exactly
He
what
just
I was
throws
supposed
up.
to do. Actually, what happened is I had some technical issues over here on my sound, and then I was like, "Oh crap, is it working or can they hear me or not?" And then I panicked and didn't know what to do, and then I ruined the whole thing. So
Yeah, it's okay.
I also like how Clinton said, "Welcome to the show, Hunter." Like I'm a guest.
No, it's like a welcome to the show. I don't know. You know, it's the co-host thing. But anyway, tonight's going to be fun. And by fun, I mean it's not organized at all. No, it's going to be good, though. We're going to do gaming news. And then tonight, we're just going to drop some new info. And we're going to talk about upcoming games of 2020 and what we as gamers are looking forward to.
yeah, I
So
think it's organized still. It's just kind of, what do you call it? It's a little more less specific segments, and then one bigger segment where we're going to be talking about up and coming stuff.
Yeah, it's not going to be like Clint segment, Hunter segment, Ryan segment. It's going to be
Right.
conjoined, cohesive unit there in the second half of the show. But we do have some gaming news. It has been light. And with that said, let's move over to the leaks for the geeks. Leaks for geeks. So tonight we're jumping right into it, right into the news of March. I mean, April. Jeez, that's how behind I am. Oh, time has stood
Hey,
still.
that's how far I am behind in my bills.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, unlike your bills, this news is good. So,
nice.
yeah, good news. It's going to be pretty exciting. So let's just go right into it. We're going to start with some good news right off the bat. We kind of talked about this in March, that video game sales were going up, and it's been kind of a boom. According to the New York Post, it's only getting better. So video game sales exploded last month as the coronavirus forced millions worldwide to hunker down at home looking for something to do. March spending on video game hardware, software, and accessories jumped 35% from a year earlier to $1.6 billion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now we got these stimulus checks, and I guarantee people are loving it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it was reversing a 7-month streak of declines to hit the highest March total since 2008. It goes on to say the spike was fueled in large part by Nintendo Switch, which I have another story on later. Their sales more than doubled last month versus a year earlier.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So 9 of the top 10 best-selling games last month generated more sales than titles ranked similarly last year, with Nintendo's Animal Crossing New Horizon leading the pack. Edging out number 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, despite coming out in the second half of the month.
Nice.
Yeah. So Wedbush analyst Michael Pachter told the Post that much of the sales spike could be attributed to customers being stuck indoors, estimating that video gaming is up 20% compared to where it was before the pandemic. Nintendo released a big game, and they had parents who are locked in with their kids feeling guilty. He said,
I'm sitting here thinking,
the numbers
we had to have a specialist tell us
what we already
it
knew.
could be the fact that everybody's locked in.
Right. His job's easy right now. Think about that.
Heck yeah.
Here was another little tidbit that's catching on. It says, as video game sales grow, others are turning to gaming as a way to supplement their income. Players are using apps like Play One Up to gamble on games such as NBA 2K, Fortnite, and FIFA, according to the Wall Street Journal. The app last month saw 10,000 one-on-one matches. A figure CEO of the app's developer, Brandon Pitts, said is double its usual traffic. Similar apps like Players Lounge saw a 70% increase in matches and a 50% increase in new signups, according to the Journal. So yeah, very interesting. Very cool indeed. Didn't really, I never really thought much of the whole gambling thing, But,
Right.
I mean, it makes sense. It's, not your usual thing. So, really interesting. I'm not good enough to make any of that happen. So it's like, what's it matter? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's pretty cool. Pretty cool to hear for the gaming industry. Next bit of news, and this one just kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't even really know that it was on the horizon, but it came out of IGN. Peaky Blinders Mastermind is a brand new puzzle adventure game headed to Nintendo Switch, PC platforms, and PlayStation 4 and Xbox One this summer. The announcement was made at IGN and includes the first look at the game's fascinating time-bending mechanics. This is based off the British period crime drama that has been a hit with fans since it launched on the BBC in 2013, and it later became a favorite in the United States thanks to the streaming service Netflix. The new video
Have
game...
either of you watched that show?
I've not seen it.
Yes.
Have you watched it? You guys?
I haven't checked it out. It looks good, but I just
does.
haven't ever taken the
I
time
started
to check
it and we didn't finish it, but it's not because it was bad. We really liked it. We just kind of drifted off from it. So
That's good. Yeah. I'll have to check it out now that I know that this is going to be happening too, just to kind of have my head in the game. Literally. It says the new video game developed by the team at Future Lab and published by Curve Digital, focuses on a single line of dialogue uttered by one of its most central characters. Tommy Shelby talks about how he has no concern for the future, no concern for the past, said game director James Marston in a gameplay reveal video. He only cares about 1 minute, the soldier's minute, where everything in a battle is decided. We've designed our entire game around this idea. So the article, it's a short article, but it goes into detail of kind of what to expect with the game. And you guys can go check out the actual gameplay video that had released. But it says here, the action plays out from the isometric perspective, with players moving just one character around the map at a time. Along the bottom of the screen is a timeline, which allows the player to move the clock back and forth to set up the timing of the heist. Actions of multiple characters get laid down like tracks in a music file, allowing players to synchronize the actions of multiple characters to pull off a heist. The game will also
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the game will also feature missions focused on jailbreaks. It's a clever conceit, one that's reminiscent of classic games like Commandos Behind the Enemy Lines and Monaco. No actual release date has been revealed or pricing, but they did say just this summer.
Okay.
So that sounds really cool. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like when you play Civilization and Age of Empires and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the graphics look cool, so all for it. And heading on over, we're going to talk a little bit about the Fortnite.
Fortnite.
We don't play it as much as some do, but here we are. We're reporting on it. Apparently, there's going to be a concert within the game of Fortnite. Yeah, Travis Scott will be the next artist to host a concert inside Fortnite. The Grammy-nominated hip-hop star will hold an in-game tour from April 23rd to April 25th. Scott's Fortnite tour is called Astronomical, which fits neatly into the space theme he's been using for the last couple of years. And his last studio album, which came out in 2018, is called Astro World, and will likely be featured heavily in this Fortnite concert. It also says it will also include the world premiere of a brand new track. So he's unveiling a new song, which is pretty neat. The in-game area of the concert hasn't been unveiled yet, but according to Fortnite's developer, Epic Games, it will be in an area of the map that's been specially designed by a team at Cactus Jack, the record label that Scott founded. Along with the concert itself, Scott will be introduced as a new icon outfit in the game and get his own emote.
So I wonder how that's done. How do you do a concert in Fortnite? How does that work?
I think they're just going to put an open mic and he's just going to live stream it, is what it sounds like to me.
And you're just going to listen through Fortnite?
Uh-huh. Yeah. It goes on. It says
like while you're playing?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But there's no way, because he'd have to be singing nonstop for 3 days.
No, it's going to be an event. So I'll go into more detail here for you.
Okay.
The article kind of gets more into it. It says, this will be Fortnite's second massive concert. So I guess they did one last year. It says, after Marshmello hosted an in-game event early last year. Yep. In the meantime, Fortnite also hosted a clip premiere for the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. To make sure as many people can see the concert as possible, Epic is spreading the event out over several days. For each concert, doors will open 30 minutes before the show, so players can get in and get comfortable before the main event begins. So it sounds like it's going to be like a lobby, and it's just going to put you into this giant server, or maybe a collection of servers that are connected to this live concert.
So you choose, I want to be in this concert, and then just play Fortnite and you're in that concert?
I guess, or you're just in the world
watching
of
the
concert. Or maybe it's like
I
don't know if you're just going to get to go around and kill each other while you're playing, like infinite kills or whatever,
I don't know. I got to know more now.
Yep.
To look into that.
It says here's the schedule of all Travis Scott's Fortnite concerts. You got April 23rd. It starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. April 24th, at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You got April 25th at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 425, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then 425, you'll be able to get on at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So those are your set times.
You think he'll be singing live at each one of those, or they're going to replay the concert at each one of those intervals?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to tune in to check out. I think it'd be neat if he did it live for each one. That's definitely. That's a lot of concerts though, but probably no more than what he would do on a tour, right? Other than
on tour they may hit one a night, but they're not doing more than one a day.
True, because on the 25th he's doing 3 concerts.
It's kind of crazy.
So it may even be like a pre-recorded soundtrack, right? But I know games that I played in the past.
Of course, they don't have to do all the setup, right? I mean, if he can handle doing the singing or whatever, they don't have to set up the whole concert every time they move, and so that might be what limits you to one time a day. Maybe his voice can handle it, 3 times a day for 3 days, and then he gets a good break.
And it might not be as long as like a full concert, right? It may only be an hour long ordeal.
Yeah.
But it seems pretty cool. I seen something like this back in the day when we messed around with Second Life, which was a PC game, real weird kind of world. But they would do you would have DJs that's what they worked on in the game. They made real money currency, and they just sit there for 3 hours at that club, DJing.
So weird.
Yeah, it seems like it's translating now to bigger games like Fortnite. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
All those 9-year-olds are gonna love it. Some Travis Scott.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're gonna have to watch the profanity.
I wonder if they just you have to be age restricted or something like that. Maybe you got to check them over 16 or something.
I'm wondering, is his avatar, is his character, his skin going to be in the game doing stuff, or is it going to be like? I think so.
I saw a picture.
Or are they going to put up like a screen within the game that shows him doing the concert?
That'd be sweet if they had him like they do when they do movies, and they put the little nodes all over him, and so while he's doing his concert, he's there and his avatar's moving with it. Wouldn't that be freaking sweet?
That would be.
I do know that they made a character after him in the game, though, because I saw a picture.
Well, after
Unless they just did it for the picture.
After the podcast is over tonight, and if you're listening to the podcast, go check out Marshmallow and see what they did last year. Maybe that'll give us an indication as what to expect. Next little bit of news goes back to Nintendo Switch. Of course, we covered a little bit of it a minute ago, but Nintendo Switch sales increased, and so with that, Nintendo basically says they're planning to increase console production in an effort to meet high demand amidst the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. It says this increase would see more units produced between now and the end of July. For 2020 overall, this would mean a 10% production increase over the last year.
It's funny if you look at this, right? You go, okay, look, we've got this COVID thing going on, and everything's shut down, and everybody's hurt. And I've always said, every time there's a big economic swing, it never swings one direction, right? There's always people who benefit. There's millionaires who come out of every collapse, and there's businesses that do well during it, and there's businesses that do horrible during it. You know what I mean? Like, for example, imagine your Grubhub right now. Your stocks have doubled. I mean, with overnight, just boom. And so you've got these kind of things happening, and you go, okay, well, that's okay. We see two sides are going to swing. The interesting thing is your normal people who everybody has this vibe that we're all losing money and hurting, which a lot of people are. Don't get me wrong, listeners. But game sales and console sales are going up. Those are not needs. A game and a console is not a need. If you've got a family and you're buying stuff for your kids, you may feel like it because your kids are bored out of their mind, and so you're buying them a Nintendo. You know what I mean?
Right.
But in all reality, if you're hurting and can't pay your bills, you're probably not buying that. So there's some evidence right there that people aren't really there yet. We're just scared of getting there. Does that make sense? Like, I think we're on the edge of, another 2-3 weeks of this, and people are going to lose their crap. Right,
and remember,
now,
guys, Ryan's talking about overall. We know that there's people out there that are having the real moment. But
I'm one of them.
Overall,
but
overall, I agree. It's definitely that way. I think people that did get their stimulus checks, if they were already working or on unemployment at this point, they're probably like, shoot, taking this check and having a little fun with it since we're stuck at home.
Yep.
But and gamers in general, I think, are just, to me, it's always been worth having the gaming stuff because it's overall over time, it's going to cost me more money to go to the movies every weekend or go to the water park or to the zoo, all that.
Yeah, you get a lot of entertainment out of games for sure, especially when you get them half price or on sale. They're one of the most bang for your buck, I think, that's out there compared to other media.
Yeah, because you go to the movies, you're going to spend probably about $10 a ticket if you go on an evening, right? If you're going on an evening.
Yeah, I mean, in all reality, if you got a family of 3 or 4, you're spending $60.
Right.
Because you're not only paying for your movie, you're paying for popcorn, and then usually you're going to get dinner. Even if it's fast food, that's another $20. So it's a $60 night given.
Yep.
For one night for movies.
For what, 2.5, 3 hours of satisfaction with the family? Whereas with gaming, I get it, $60. Now I'm going to get probably 20 to 30 hours out of that at some point.
Yeah, easy.
And probably
minimum.
Even more on a game that you really love.
And
right?
and if it's a good game, like a lot of these games that are more family oriented for the Nintendo, it's not just you. Your kids are getting it. If your wife's into gaming, she's getting it. Or if you're the wife and your husband's into gaming, so you might be 6 people getting 50, 60 hours out of that one $60 item.
Well, I tell you,
and then half the time it's 30, right? Half the time the games we buy are 30 or free sometimes. So it's kind of like, nothing that compares in the sense of value for media.
For me, in all this, I've been pretty lucky, right? I still got my job and all that. But if it hadn't have been for our AC unit just completely sucking and us having to replace the whole thing, I definitely would have looked at getting a Nintendo Switch just because there's some games on there I want to play, and I know there's stuff on there that my family, my wife, my kid would enjoy playing. So Nintendo Switch is definitely probably a next year purchase, maybe. Is what I'm thinking.
And then boom, they come out with a Switch again.
Switch
or whatever
2.
they're going to call the next one.
Get me right in the...
Switched it on you. The Nintendo switched it on you.
Hey, Chaotic, welcome to the Twitch stream. We appreciate having you.
Nintendo's pretty slow on that stuff. I mean, I feel like they're one of the slower ones, right, on getting new consoles out.
But I think that's
they're not
going
to come out with one next year.
But see, that's the whole family strategy. They know if we put something out and we support it for a long term,
right,
it's more family friendly. People are going to buy it. So
and they had a late rise, right? The Nintendo Switch came out. It didn't really blow up in the sense of because the Wii had done so poorly towards the end. People were really nervous to go back to Nintendo, and then they had kind of a late bloom. So really, just the last 2 years has been like Switch zone. So they're not even at the point. Why would they? They're just now hitting the boom. So I don't think they will.
They proved to us they're supporting this thing, and they're putting out good content with it, good games. So they do say here, it says right here, we hope, which they're referring to suppliers here. They say, we hope we'll be responsive to the production increase, but for procurement of some parts, the outlook remains uncertain, and we can't forecast exactly how many Switches can be supplied. The article does mention here, according to Bloomberg, some of that's going to be hindered because some of their supplies and things are coming out of China and other parts of Asia, which, we got travel, get the bans on and slowing down what we can and can't send. So that might hinder them a little bit, but it is good. They're looking at, hey, let's get it while the iron's hot. Let's get production going.
Right.
So, Yep. Well, the last little bit of news that I have here is on Call of Duty, and this isn't like game breaking news, right? But it is kind of gives us an idea of what's going on with the game of Call of Duty Warzone, because they did have a battle royale type mode in the last Call of Duty. Is that correct, Hunter? It was what was it? What was the
Black Ops 4? Black Ops 4?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But it seems like seems like a very long term. We're going to compete with Fortnite. We're going to compete with.
Yeah, that one was definitely more of a trial. How's this going to do?
Yeah.
They didn't really adapt it very well. Yeah, this is very much its own thing, I think, and people have recognized that.
Yeah. Well, if you like Warzone, if you guys have played Warzone and like it, then this news is going to be uplifting for you. Call of Duty Warzone's developers say they have plans for some Fortnite-like events that could shake things up more than its seasonal transitions. Infinity Ward narrative director Taylor Kurosaki spoke to VentureBeat about how the Modern Warfare story continues in Warzone mode. So far, players have been able to keep up with key events shaping the conflict of Warzone, which takes place after both the single-player and Spec Ops campaigns, by watching intro cinematics for each season. When interviewer Dean Takahashi mentioned that Warzone has the potential for events like the Black Hole that mark the transition for the Fortnite Chapter 2, Kurosaki agreed. That's exactly the kind of thing that we're working on. That we have planned. Again, it's all going to fit into the macro that we've established in Modern Warfare and that we've continued into Warzone. If you know who the players are in Modern Warfare, it'll make sense and it'll feel appropriate to the universe. And Kurosaki also pointed out that players are starting to find, in quotes, Easter eggs in the maps, hidden areas in the maps that tell more of the story. And then I hear that and I think of those shelters that Hunter brought up with the key codes and all that. So
that's what I was just going to say. From what I've heard, they've been slowly more Easter eggs being uncovered and exposed. And actually, I think they are doing more Easter eggs. It's not like when you do a normal game, right, to where the Easter eggs are made into it. They're doing Easter eggs in updates. And so it's a continued thing, like Fortnite. Same thing, they really didn't take too long to bring in the 4-player groups and to bring in the others instead of just the trios. And so I think they're definitely standing behind what they said they were going to do, if that makes sense. And we haven't played it a ton, but every time we've played it, we've had a blast.
Yeah, I'm betting zombies. I mean, zombies got to come, right? It's got to be a Warzone mode that's coming because they don't have a zombie mode in the game. All the other Call of Duty games have had zombies, so yeah.
That would be sweet if they brought zombies.
It would be.
Just so you guys know, on a side note, I went ahead and looked up Marshmallow's concert. It's a real concert. Like, he's got a stage, there's a park set up, and it's just tons of people in there raving out with their lights, and he's doing a show. So just like a normal concert, it climaxes and goes through, all kinds of stuff on the screens that are all spread out. Yeah. He's got an emote character, that's playing him. But then there's sometimes he becomes giant and he's dancing on stage, and so it's all kinds of digital tricks that they've done to make it hyped up. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's so cool. Awesome. I'm pumped. I'm gonna get on there, try to get in that Travis Scott concert, dude.
That's cool.
Hey, and a shout out to Chaotic Blinks over on Twitch. He says that you should make an Instagram, YouTube account. We have that. We're just now dabbling in the whole getting out on Instagram. So you can check us out over at Delirious Dads Gaming on that. But yeah, we're working on the whole marketing ourselves. But thank you for the compliment. We're glad that you think this is a really good stream. We enjoy doing it, bro.
Appreciate it.
Or lady, either way. So that's going to be the end of the news. So now we're going to kind of transition over. We don't have any music set up, but we're going to talk about upcoming games for 2020 that we personally
the free flow zone.
This is open discussion, and I think it's going to be fun. And who wants to start?
And anybody out there watching first? Live on Facebook or anything too, feel free. This would be a good portion of the show to chime in on a game we failed to mention, and if we know about it, we can talk about that too.
Yeah, if you're on the Facebook stream or the Twitch or YouTube stream. Throw in your comments. What are you looking forward to? And we'll get to you here in just a minute as we're discussing games. So who wants
I'm
to
going to throw one that's already out first.
Okay, go ahead.
Can I throw that? I'm not going to list all the games that are on my mind, but I'm going to hit this one and get it out of the way because I think everything else we've got is up and coming.
Get it out of your system.
Yeah, I had mentioned it the other day, couldn't remember the name of it, and then a buddy of ours, Sean, said, I think it's called The Sinking City. And yes, it is called The Sinking City. That game looks very interesting, and so now it's out, and so I went ahead and looked up to see what kind of ratings it got. If you haven't heard of The Sinking City, it's kind of this, I would say he's a detective, basically, and he's trying to figure out what's going on with this sinking city. He has what seems to be almost like hallucinations, He's not sure hallucinations. He's not sure which is reality while in them, so it looks pretty intense. He'll go into kind of this more like a dark, twisted world that has some creatures in it and stuff like that. And then he goes back to the normal world, and he's basically, it's very eerie feeling game by the previews and by the little bit of game trailer that I watched. I think it's probably a decent game, in my opinion, if you've got some, some extra time and you've been wanting to play a campaign that's interesting. I'm one of those people that kind of mainly sticks to co-op unless it's just like a super good single-player game. This one ended up getting rated 64 on Metacritic, 3 out of 5 stars, and then 66 on PC Gamer. So that's not a bad game. There's plenty of games that are single-player stories are hard to get a high rank on. You know, and so they fall in that 60 to 70 quite often, even decent games. So I would say it's probably a decent game. People that have played it have said it's got a pretty good story mode lengthwise. It's about 15 hours of story mode that you can get out of it, not counting if you're Easter egg hunting and trying to get everything in the game. But so yeah, what have you guys? We talked about playing that early on. What are your guys' thoughts on that? It slid right past us, mainly because it's not a co-op game.
I thought it looked cool. I like that whole style of what they're basing it off of, kind of the Cthulhu type fantasy,
right?
That kind of stuff. So I think all that.
But it's kind of got an old school vibe, almost like Eleanor, in a way.
I saw some gameplay on it. Just watched a little bit of it. It was a while back, not the other day. It was actually a while back, but it does look like one of those ones that the game trailers get you more hyped up than the game actually delivers.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying
by the game trailer, I was kind of thinking it may be, man, this is a really interesting, that's why we always wait on those kind of games, But I thought, man, this really looks interesting. I was disappointed a decent amount by the, not just the gameplay, how the gameplay looked like it was playing when I watched the gameplay. It was actually, like you see used to, not as much nowadays, but used to, it happened all the time, a really big downgrade in graphics, and that really bugs me with the capability of
when your trailer looks amazing, and then it's like, oh, they downgraded the pixel count. Yeah, I agree with that. Another game that has came out this month is Resident Evil 3, and that's something that we really want to get into soon. We just got to set aside time to actually beat Resident Evil 2. We played it a little bit. But Resident Evil 3 looks awesome.
If we had known about Parsec back when we first started Resident Evil 2, we would have beat it already.
Yeah, we did.
And so now we probably will get into some of these more deep single-player games sometimes because we know we can, if that makes sense. It's harder to get the three of us together with our kids at the same house and have a game night. But to be able to do it on Parsec, I think if we come across other games like Resident Evil 3 or games that are just like, oh man, you got to try this single player, it's super good, then we can go in and run them together like that. If you guys are down for it, I know I am.
For sure. Now, there are some things that I did see on Resident Evil 3, and if you guys haven't played it yet, this isn't big spoilers, but it is going to be more related to the game mechanics. So if you don't want to know that, then I would skip ahead in 5 minutes because we're not going to talk long about this. But I was just going to mention I watched a little gameplay video of a lady just giving like a non-spoiler review. And one of the things she said that's different on this is that there's more zombies. Like there's more of them. So because of that, one of the things they did in Resident Evil 2, when you shot a zombie's limb, it kind of fell off, kind of broke and kind of would slide off or break. In this version, they've had to go ahead and make it to where it kind of explodes. That makes sense. So it does like a flash of blood. It looks a little cheaper than it did in Resident Evil 2.
It's a little less realistic, a little more animated.
But that's because they're upping the amount of zombies in this one to kind of give the zombies more of a scary feel, because that was kind of the whole deal about Resident Evil 3 is the city's totally overrun by zombies, and so they've got to, they wanted to make the zombie more
Resident Evil 2 was much more deep, dark, slow than Resident Evil 3. Not that Resident Evil 3 was arcadey, but it was a whole different vibe to it.
Yeah. And then I saw some stuff like you could shoot certain canisters, like oil cans and things, to blow them up, to take out zombies or to take on Nemesis. And then there was one where you can set up like an electrical charge and actually electrocute, like it makes that little area an electrical area, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So you can
electrifies the area.
I think actually though that Resident Evil 3 was supposed to take place before Resident Evil 2.
Yes, it does.
Like very, very, very close, but it does.
Yeah, it's
so
the events before
that's
Evil.
weird that they would do that because there'd be the same amount of zombies then. But
well, the idea is that
the
idea is that her and some of the other I guess secret agents have taken out those zombies, right? And plus, I think Leon and Claire are at a different area. They come from a different
location.
Area. Yeah.
Yep.
I think if I remember correctly, what's her name? I just forgot her name. The main character of 3. People are going to kill me on this one, but she's in the middle of the city, I believe, in the heart of it all, as it's happening. Jill.
Right. It's got to be. I mean, they're really close. It's like basically it's part of the story's happening at the same time too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
But overall, it's a good game. The review I listened to, they said they still like the original better, but that they did really good with Resident Evil 3. Her only complaint was she felt like Nemesis wasn't in it enough for her. I'm curious to see if that'll be a complaint for us. But
did you happen to check her review for 2?
No, I didn't look at hers for 2. No, it's just one of those I was watching one night.
I got you.
Yeah, I wasn't doing.
I mean,
my
thoughts on 2 is if I just chose between the two of them, it's hard to, because when I was a kid, it was by far the first game I ever played like that. So the original has the win. Yeah. But if I'm comparing them in hindsight, stepping back and going, which one is not just a better looking game, but a more polished game? The new one is a better game. It runs smoother. It just, the way it's set up is just a little bit better, in my opinion.
The gaming.
Yeah, the dynamics of the way you shoot, the way the characters react and all that kind of stuff, of course, which is modern gaming. But it was enough for me that they didn't take away any of the things I loved about the original. They just enhanced it all. So the new one, to me, they did it justice.
Yeah.
So I hope 3 is the same way.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see if they remake 4 because it's a huge jump. Like,
I know that's kind of a scary one for them too, because number 4 was that it was like a solid game changer when it came to the new generation consoles, right? The new generation of Resident Evil. That was the jump. That was the one that defined the direction they were going, and then they got kind of arcadey later. But number 4, it was like very revealing.
Right. It's almost like you do 4 and then you go, we just act like 5 didn't happen. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, because 5 was a fun game, but it should have been called Tomb Raider with zombies. I mean, it was not Resident Evil.
Right. Now, upcoming games, right? They haven't officially announced it, but for Resident Evil and their universe, they are working on Resident Evil 8, and they have said that it's going to have first-person cam view, just like Resident Evil 7 did.
Right.
So
now, they have not said if it's going to be VR or not, right? People actually think it will be, but nobody has said from anything I've seen. I think it almost has
to, because 7 was so scary in VR.
Right. Yeah, it was
wait,
pretty
7... I'm trying to think.
7's the hillbilly one, the one that's very inspired by Texas Chainsaw and all that.
Where they're in with the family? I thought that was 6 for some reason.
No, that's 7.
No, that's 7.
Cool.
But it's a solid one too. So I like everything they're putting out on their end. Anything else in the horror genre that you guys can think of that's coming up in 2020 that you're excited about?
Not really horror, but we talked about it. Either Predator, Hunting Ground. I guess you could consider that not in the same boat, but kind of a thriller.
Yeah, kind of that Friday 13th, Dead by Daylight style game.
Yeah, I can't remember the name, but wasn't there a game? Wasn't there a game that was coming out from the maker of Silent Hill? Wasn't there? We just recently talked about.
I think they were teasing it. I don't think they've mentioned anything yet.
Okay.
There's a couple little teasers that they put out on Twitter.
Because remember, they said they were making one that he dropped out on, right? And we've talked about that a few times. Yeah.
PT.
And I think they're starting to hint at another one. So we don't know what it is yet, but there has been some little leaky leaks, some little things that kind of give you the vibe that something's coming. Which makes sense, because they were like, if you were a horror game fan back in the day, there were 2 that you would ever talk of, and that was Resident Evil and Silent Hill.
Right.
Those were like, and so to see Resident Evil doing so well and kind of picking up steam and making a lot of money again, I would see that Silent Hill would go we should follow suit here. Let's look at what they're doing. You know what I mean? And let's jump on that because there's money to be made there. I mean, Silent Hill has a huge following.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they were as consistent as Resident Evil through the years, in my personal opinion.
I just
but
don't think they have
some
many
very
games
epic
either,
games.
you know?
Yeah.
So, but they always had kind of that Alan Wake vibe to me. Alan Wake was very much Silent Hill like to me in a way.
That's true.
That kind of that ocean vibe. You're right by the ocean.
Oh,
you know.
Now that you mentioned that, I forgot I downloaded that when it was free a little while back. I'm gonna have to jump on there and play a little Alan Wake.
Yeah, so I'm excited to try Predator. I didn't get to try it during the trial week, but I remember growing up, Dad used to, throw that on. Not when I was super young, obviously, but he would throw that movie on, and I loved that movie.
I think
so. For those of you who haven't played Predator,
the villain is good.
Yeah, what's Predator about, Hunter? A little breakdown of how it's played.
So Predator, I haven't seen the gameplay yet, but I imagine it's kind of like one of those stalking games, like Clinton said, of the Friday the 13th, where you actually control the villain, plus there's some people controlling the survivors. And if you haven't seen Predator the movie, Predator is basically about this group of mercenaries who go into the jungle to take care of some, I don't remember exactly the storyline, but take care of some guys that were out in the jungle, a bad group of people, if they're drug smugglers or what. But
right.
when they're in there, they come upon a alien being that is living in that jungle and stalking these people. So and
it's a little bit different than your other horror movies, right? Because than your other horror movie, kind of like these Jasons and these ones we're talking about, because the Predator is he's specifically here not because he's some horror guy who just wants to kill people. He's looking for a battle. He's like a warrior from another planet.
He's very tribal.
And he wants to come against another person who's worthy of that. I hope they kind of pull that into the game and this kind of the vibe of the game. Yeah.
Yep. So of course,
it is that style of game. I think
he comes across his worthy rival, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger. So that would be cool.
That would
Throw
be
us
sweet.
in a character in here. There's Arnold in here.
Good. And we know they'll do it, and they can do it because they did it for Mortal Kombat. They did the Terminator in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Right.
But it is a 1v4, so it's one Predator versus 4 survivors from last time.
Right, and so if you guys probably, we live under a rock more than other people do when it comes to gaming because the time we have as dads to game. But if you're listening and you haven't tried any of these 1v4 style games where you've got the villain is the easiest way to put it, right? You've got a villain, and then you've got the characters of the movie or of the show or of the story, who is trying to usually not kill the villain, because it's just like any other horror movie. The villain in those kind of movies never actually dies, right? That's how they make 19 sequels.
Yeah,
so the goal is to just escape the villain for that game, and so you have to get away from him. You have to keep him at bay and try not to have all your characters die. That's how these games are set up, and there has been some good ones. We play Dead by Daylight. Friday the 13th is a good one. What's the other one a lot of people play? Last Year the Nightmare is another one that's kind of getting better from what we see online. We haven't really gone back to it.
We tried to see it on Steam. It's okay, So there's a lot of clones of the original Friday the 13th.
But if you've not played any of them, they're worth playing. They're a whole other breed. They're a new breed of.
If you got a group of
game.
friends and you want to play a cheap game, go play them. They're not as bad as the reviews aren't going to be great on them because they're very specific, but they're not horrible.
Yeah.
They're actually fun to go in and play with your buddies.
No, it's one of those games that I think you're either gonna love it or hate it. But if you love it, if you do like that style of game and you get in, you're gonna go, these are awesome because it's new. It's I say it's new. It's obviously 4 or 5 years now they've been out. But in the spectrum of us dads out there that have been playing for 20, 30 years, this is a new style to gaming. Just like what do you call it? Battle Royale, right? Is a new style, if that makes sense. So check it out.
I think it's that whole thing of people that grew up on horror. You always wanted to be in the movie, but usually when you play a horror game, you're by yourself, right? And this is like a whole element of, hey, I'm with my buddies and we're gonna go together and take this on together. It's scary.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. Now, as far as games in 2020, one of the ones I think look interesting, but it's been delayed and kind of went back and forth, is Marvel's Avengers. Even though the characters aren't voiced by the movie, people, right? I think.
Yeah, nor do they really have the same personalities
Yeah.
from the previews we've seen.
Mm-hmm. I think the gameplay trailer, the recent gameplay trailer they had done, last November or whatever, looked good. I think.
Yeah.
It's one of those. It's kind of up in the air. It could be just a complete fart in church, or it could just be really good, right?
I don't think it's going to be a fart in church. I think if my guess on this game is that it's going to be an 8 if you're looking at that style game, because that style game tends to fail a lot, right? They just don't do very well. We just talked in the last podcast or the one before that we are seeing more games like that do well, like Spider-Man, right? Batman, Arkham City, stuff like that used to would kind of be like kid games, right? They're just kind of flat. They fall on their face. They just made a game to make some money and that's it. We're seeing those games actually do well. I think this game, it may not be quite as good as, some of the top games that have come out recently, but I think it's going to be up there. That's my opinion. If you compare it across the board, it's probably going to be a 6. I mean, come on, it's an adventure superhero game. They're never that great. But in that category, I think that it's going to be, I think they've put a lot of time and money into it and a lot of promotion into it in comparison to, hey, here goes your, Marvel's Avenger game. We see it come out 2 months after we heard about it, which is what usually happens in those kind of games.
Yeah, they're at least taking the time working on it.
I'm intrigued by the previews and all that stuff.
Hunter, thoughts?
No, not really. Sorry, I was reading about this this other game that I was gonna bring to you guys.
Okay.
But
that's supposed to be coming out September 4th, as the date on that, as of now, as long as they don't push it back further. What was the game you were looking up, Hunter?
Well, I don't know if you guys have heard of it before, but it's called Gods and Monsters. And I'm a geek
Gods
about
and
this
Monsters.
stuff. Yes, this is a
We might have
Greek
mentioned that a
mythology
while
game.
back.
It was a long time ago. It was meant to actually release February, but it's been pushed back because all big budget games get pushed back. It's expected late this year. But it's basically a very bright, artistic, arted game based in Greek mythology. And it's made by the team who made Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but it is not an Assassin's Creed game. It's a lot different. It's set in a fictional
Yeah, we did
island.
talk about this. It kind of looks like Zelda. It's got a Zelda vibe.
Yes, kind of. It's very bright. It's set on a fictional island called Isles of the Blessed, and it's now riddled with mythological creatures. Players can wield the power of the gods to battle the likes of Medusa, Hydras, and Cyclops in order to reach their leader, the mighty Typhoon. I don't know. Yeah, it looks really good. I haven't seen a ton. There is some cinematic trailers out on it. But of course there's no gameplay release or anything like that right now. But it looks like a really pretty game, and it's touching my buttons that I like. I love Greek mythology. Absolutely.
Now I remember when we talked about this before, most of your reviewers basically like your little leap guys and that kind of stuff, they were basically saying that you can expect really close to preview graphics in the actual gameplay due to the fact that the way it's animated in a very artistic way, right? And when I say in an artistic way, it's not animated in a way that looks like how would you put that? Some of your almost like 2D style artistic games, right? That we've played a lot, that we've seen that have gotten popular lately. With really good, they'll have really good music and a great story, and sometimes some of them are top down and they're really artsy. This is much more of a Zelda style, in the sense. But the graphics
well,
look
though, right? I mean, it's kind of like like Overwatch. You see an
Right.
Overwatch cinematic and you play the game, and it's not.
Yep. And that's how this is expected to be by most people who are reviewing it ahead of time, and some of the leaks that they've gotten. So they said that this game is really going to be visually, it's expected to be pretty amazing, and the world is going to be huge from what they're guessing. And so I'm definitely in on that. This is I think that's what is it, Ubisoft, And
Yes.
they don't usually go
I'm
very
really
small
trying
on games
to.
like this.
Yeah.
There's been other people who've used this art style before, and I'm trying to think of some examples
Fable.
so that our listeners. Yeah, but amped up. I mean, Fable didn't have this good of graphics.
Right. Yeah, but it's that kind of a look to it. It's
Yeah.
not, you're
Right.
not talking about a realistic look like you're not talking about realistic look like Skyrim, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're
Right.
also not talking about a cartoon look either. It's somewhere
Right.
in between. It's not cell shaded. It's just I really like it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Gabriel says he thought that God of War was coming out. Is there a new God of War coming out, Hunter? Besides the newest one?
Not that I've heard of.
I'll search
I'd
as we're
have to
going here.
look at that. Yeah, I'd search, but my keyboard's louder than
Yeah, Ryan's got
the
a
world.
quieter keyboard. And then the other big game that's slated to come out this year is Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes, I was going to talk about that too.
That's on my list too, guys.
I'm usually not real big
Man.
into the sci-fi stuff, but that one really gets me because it reminds me,
But
it's got that Matrix feel since our boy
Keanu
Keanu's going
Reeves.
to be in there.
No. This is not really. I mean, I guess it's sci-fi, but this is. I am into like Mad Max kind of.
It's kind of
this is kinda
steampunky in a way, a little bit.
Yeah, it's
With
got
some-
that vibe. Like what's your
Borderlands?
Fifth Element, right? Stuff like that. Well, the movies
Fifth
that we kind of
Element.
grew up on, they were real popular with this kind of vibe where you're kind of like futury, but it's like the world's falling apart futury.
Total
right? And there's a
Recall.
new yeah, Total Recall. Yeah. So it's very nostalgic feeling for me. And so and there's a show that's real popular right now called Altered Carbon. It's the same kind of a setting, same kind of a world like this. And so it's not so outlandish, like where you're just out in the middle of nowhere like Borderlands. It's like your city, but we're still a decrepit, falling apart society mixed with technology. That's cool for me. I like that a lot.
Yeah, technology has taken over a little bit.
it does. It
Right,
just looks
right.
so unique. It looks like something that's never been done.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I'm excited for it. And
Yeah.
especially after they showed that Keanu Reeves was in it, I was like, ah, man,
Got me.
I got to do
God of
everything
War.
I can to support that guy.
God of War 5 trailer this year. New rumors and news. So it is rumored
Wow.
that there is a new God of War coming.
Okay. Now Gabriel said
not a whole
thought
lot
with
about
Nordic
it.
gods, Odin, Thor. That's the most recent one.
Yeah.
Right,
Thor and
so-
them are the recent one.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's
The recent one was God of War 4, though, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Or
yeah.
was it
So
just
they're
God,
talking
or
about
was it just God of War? I think it was just God of War, wasn't it?
That's what they called it. Yeah, they didn't have
Yeah, you're
five
right.
or anything.
You're right. No, this says this does have Thor rumors and leaks, so it may be a continued story from the last one, something like
Maybe.
that. I don't know. Yeah. But on the
sounds really
cyberpunk side too, what you got? I did not realize that it was going to be set up so open world. So this is going to be very reminiscent of what do you call it? Jeez, how did I just drop
Watch
blank on
Dogs?
that? On Grand Theft Auto.
Oh,
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is going to be set up like Grand Theft Auto. You can steal any car you want to, stuff like that. Other than one thing that's going to be kind of cool about your cars, you start with a car, but you can pretty much upgrade and get different cars that are purposed for different things like heists. Some are armored, some are made for speed, bikes, all kinds of different things you can get. But they are all set up with an AI system because it's in the future. So you can talk to it, tell it, to go to somewhere to pick you up, stuff like that, and it'll be able to go anywhere on the
Can
map
you say that through
to
your
meet
mic?
you.
I'm
I don't know if
wondering.
it's through your
That'd be-
mic or
that'd
not,
be
but I
sweet,
know it's a
wouldn't it?
command that you can give it.
Like,
yeah.
car, take me to the rusty nub,
Mhm.
and then it takes you to the rusty nub. Yeah.
Right.
I'm wondering if it's gonna be more open world, like do anything you want, goof off, Grand Theft Auto, or more
It
like
is.
a Watch Dogs. Because Watch Dogs is
supposed to
open
be-
world too, but it's got more of a directive. Does that make sense? Like you
Yeah,
can't
this
just
has
go
got both.
crazy.
This has got both. Okay, so they said it's open world. You can kill civilians. Every character, that's not part of the storyline can just be killed. Right?
Okay.
That are just characters out there. You can mow them down with your car. You can do whatever you want. Multiple repercussions will happen. One, the authorities can come. And one of the writers on the game said, basically you got three choices when the authorities come: run, fight and then run, or fight, and die. I mean, he said it's just relentless. So the goal is to get away. If you do something stupid and you're goofing around and you mow down a bunch of people, you have to escape. Basically, you're not gonna be able to fight them off, which is very.
That's kind of how GTA is.
Yeah.
GTA, yep. And they said, so you do have some pretty big repercussions if you kill within the game, but there is an outlands area outside of the city that is for your looters, your thieves, your bandits, all of that, and there's no law out there. So out there it's just like
Wild West.
that's where you just go crazy Wild West. Yep.
Okay.
So I think it's going to have kind of a balance of two different sides there. As for freedom,
Now, have they mentioned at all if there's going to be any online play with this game, or is it right now still just very heavily storyline campaign driven?
In everything I saw, I did not see anything about online play.
Okay. Which is fine. I mean, this is
that,
definitely something we could all play together on Parsec or
right, right,
whatever.
They said that the map is maybe slightly smaller if you're looking at square meters, right? Or square miles of the map from just a map perspective than the Witcher game was, the last Witcher one. But they said not in reality because it's much more dense, right? You're in a very dense city with much higher population, and the amount of content is going to be higher than The Witcher. So the amount of activities and things that you can do will be more, and you've got buildings that have multiple levels, and a lot of the big buildings are going to be explorable. You can go inside of them and meet people inside, and there's even some underground content to the map of the city. So they said, in all reality, it's a much bigger map. But if you're looking at it just in how much space it takes up, it's a smaller map than The Witcher, right?
And see, I love that. That's the kind of stuff right
there.
The
Witcher's a huge map, so.
Yeah, it is pretty big. But that's the thing right there, what you mentioned, for me, that I've always wanted us to get to that future, which is every building be explorable. And I don't mean in the way that everything's cookie cutter, right? Because you can have every building be open, but it's just a clone of the other buildings, right?
Right.
Exactly. So yeah, it would definitely be sweet to be able to have unique areas within a whole.
Now, he specifically said it is not an every building open, but there will be many buildings open, and within those buildings, the floors won't be pointless. So each floor will have more missions and people to come in contact with and content within each floor of those buildings. So it's not kind of there's a cool building to explore for no reason.
Yeah.
But he didn't really give 50% of them are explorable. It didn't say that in the quote. It was just basically expect to have a lot of building exploration.
Very cool. And I like that because I feel like when you go into these futuristics, like let's just take, and I'm not slamming on your game or anything, but usually I do, but I'm not this time. Crackdown, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a futuristic game. It's super cool. You can break down the buildings, but for most part, you can't go in any buildings. So as cool as
it's not a story game.
Right.
It's lacking
as cool
big
as
time
it
in that
looks,
area.
though. As cool as it looks, and there's other games that have done it. As cool as it looks, the want to be able to go into those and see the futuristic parts of it. Like you're talking about futuristic.
Sometimes.
Yeah, you're talking about a futuristic like utopia of like, you want to explore and how these buildings look different than they would in our time and stuff like that. That's just what keeps me interested in it.
Yeah.
I think about these movies like we're talking about Total Recall and stuff, and I want to see some of that architecture in the game. I think that'd be super cool.
Yeah. That'd be really.
Now, are you guys kind of familiar with the setup for Cyberpunk? I know you've watched a few videos on it. We've talked about it. The kind of what it's, how it plays out and stuff like that. Like what kind of a character you are and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, in Grand Theft Auto, you've got different characters in each one that plays a role, right? To where you're either part of a crime group or you're part of this or that. This one is going to have different gangs and sects set up to where even though the regular authorities won't attack you, you may get repercussions from other gangs if you were to mow down people in their region, right? Or you're to do something in their area. And I'm trying to make sure that I don't mix this with another game. I'm pretty sure this is the one I was looking at yesterday. That you're kind of superhuman in this game. Does that seem right from what you guys remember? Yeah. So
is it superhuman or is it more like enhanced?
I thought you were enhanced, like cybernetic.
Yeah.
Like
cybernetic. Yeah. So you've got superhuman abilities because of technology.
Yeah. Add-ons to your
so,
hands and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can still die fairly easy. So you kind of got the ability to die like you would in a normal Grand Theft Auto game. I'm sure there's different things to protect you, but you've got these other abilities like possibility to see through walls, use X-ray, to bend metal with your bare hands. All of those elements are going to be things that we've never experienced in a game like Grand Theft Auto, right? So it's going to, if they really incorporate that well into the game, it's not going to be just like a Grand Theft Auto in a cyber city setting. It should have a whole different vibe and feel to playing. So that's what I'm excited about. I really would think that it'd be awesome if they allowed it to have an online with co-op missions and stuff like that. That'd be freaking sweet.
That would be.
Will they? I don't know. They haven't said anything about it, but we can cross our fingers and wish.
But they could do like Grand Theft Auto where it's not an option at all, and then later on be like, here's Cyberpunk Online,
Yep.
So, yeah. One game that I'm excited about, which you guys will not be interested in because you're not MMO players, but of course is the new WoW expansion that's coming out later this year. Shadowlands. I'm super pumped because now they've opened up their alpha servers to specific players, and they've been letting people that do YouTube, like content creators, come in and play. And so far, people, they're saying that Blizzard's turning the ship around possibly with this, which, I've even heard the term could be the best expansion they made, which is they needed to with an old game like this, right? You got to do some things that change it up. And one of the things that I saw that I really like, right off the bat, they've said that with older races, they're going to start adding customization stuff. So tattoos, piercings, different things that you can do to your character. And we're talking, these characters haven't been changed in years. Even with the model updates that they did, right? They're still the same style, right? So the fact
so the goal is you'd be able to kind of dive back into your archives and what do you call that? Bring life back to those people, reanimate them.
Right. And then the other big deal they're doing, they're taking on the big task of, we've now gotten up to 120 levels in this game, which is a little ridiculous.
Right.
So they're actually going to level squish all the characters. So they're actually resetting everything back to the old days of level 60. So how it's working is, with the new expansion, your character will now level from 1 to 10. That'll be the starter zones. Then from 10 to 50, you will pick an expansion of your choice to level through. So there is no, I'm going to have to play through these 8 expansions, right? It's going to be, I want to play this Wrath of the Lich King expansion. Okay, well, from 10 to 50, I play in that area, and that's it. Now you have the option.
So you can't go to others if you want to?
You can go to the others if you want, but the idea...
You just don't need to.
Right, the idea is you can pick your favorite areas to level and do that, and then at level 50 to 60 will be the new expansion, Shadowlands.
Okay, interesting.
And then I'm just really into.
So you can't even play the new expansion if you're not at level 50.
Right.
Jeez. Okay.
But they're also going to. It's also going to be streamlined because it's going to be, you leveling to 50 would be like you just playing one expansion. Before. Right. I get it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it takes away some of that grind, and they're going to have things in place that kind of speed along.
Let me ask you a question. When you get a new expansion, do you get all the other expansions, or do you have to buy that expansion too?
No, now they've just done it where you just get the one expansion.
Okay, so say I want to play this new expansion.
If you're a new player, you just buy Shadowlands and you're good.
No, that won't work because I got to be level 50 to play it.
No, they give free level boosts with your first purchase, so you get a level 50 boost is what it would be.
Oh.
You get one free one to use. Right.
You just start off at level 50.
Yeah. Now,
I guess that's an excuse. That gives you a reason to buy it and still be able to play. But in all reality, if you're new to the game, do you really want to start off at level 50 or do you want to explore building a character?
But now they've done this
so you got to buy 2.
But it's changed now. So in the days that me and you played, you had to be the same level to level together. Well, now they've already put in new updates where they do a system called Party Sync. So if I'm a max level and you're level 10, it'll actually bring my level down to you, and then I can play missions with you, just like you would in these newer games. Now, some of the changes they've done with UI stuff on here, sweet too. They're now implementing objective markers for main storyline. So in WoW, it's kind of like Skyrim and those kind of games where you get all these missions at once. You're like, oh my God, what do I do with all these quests?
Right. Yep.
So what they're doing now is they have a special marker above the NPC's head that will tell you what the main storyline is. So if you don't want to have to focus on those other side quests, you can stay on the campaign story. And then they've also added like a 3D marker. So if you're looking for an object and you're in a cave, it'll actually show the marker through the walls and stuff. So you know, oh, it's up here. You're not going to get losses. So they're doing a lot of fine tuning, and so they're not just doing the new expansion. It feels like they're rebuilding their old game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, they're updating and making it modern, which is, you know, key to survival with a game like that. It's still going to play like WoW. You know, it's still going to be you're hitting your buttons to do your spells and, you know, that kind of thing.
That's WoW. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think WoW people would want anything different. WoW, people playing WoW don't want it to suddenly become Borderlands. You know what I mean? They're playing WoW because they like WoW. Yeah.
Now, and this expansion will be sweet because you're going into the afterlife, which I love that. I love that whole fantasy of, you know, it's going to borrow from a lot of different things of culture of what death is, right? So there's a zone that looks very heaven-like. You know, you have the golden rolling fields and, you know, the pearly gates and all that kind of stuff. And then you have the zones that are more
dark.
Yeah, dark. And, you know, so they do a lot of different style things, which is cool. So I'm just kind of pumped about that overall storyline. And then they're introducing another game element that I like, which is the Tower of Torghast. And so the idea is we storm this tower to take on these evil creatures, these evil beings that are kind of poisoning the afterlife world, right? But it works kind of like Rogue Legacy. So you go in as your character, and I think I need to make sure because I don't want to speak out of turn. Yeah. So Torghast, the Tower of Torghast, you can either do by yourself, so it's good single player content, or you can do up to 5 people as a group and go in and storm the tower. And so what's cool is the tower itself changes every time you go in. It procedurally changes. You're going to find different items. You're going to find skills related to your class that you normally can't do in the regular world that you can do in Torghast. So you can have these crazy builds that you do and things like that specifically for this. And you're going to get better gear. You're going to get, you know. And so it's one of those things of it's simple. It's a simple concept, but it's good for creating new content within the, you know, the play space.
You just made me think of a random question. Hunter, did you happen to see, I don't think it is, but does Gods and Monsters have any co-op content, or it's a single player game?
I didn't see any co-op, but that doesn't mean that it's not. I just, from what I've seen, it looks like a story mode game.
I don't think I saw anything either. See, that game looks like it'd be great for...
I saw that WoW was... Sorry, back to WoW for a second. I saw WoW was getting a little bit of heat thrown at him because the Torghast, so you say it? Torghast Tower, kind of looked like Sauron from...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Nice.
But, I mean, come on. That game borrows from so much stuff. It's like... And they're, you know, that they're very big Lord of the Ring fans, so you know that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, I think the hate with Blizz is just kind of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think it's a common thing.
I think it's always been love-hate. You know what I mean? There's this thing where they've done epic things and they're so big and they're so huge and they have so many followers, and then there's this. Why the freak would you ever go and do that? That's always been with Blizz. You've got both sides, and I think it's because they push their limits. So when you push the limits on things, on some things you just go big, right? It's go big or go home. Then every time you do anything that's kind of like meh, it's like extra meh. Because you're like, what the freak is this? Why did you even tell us about this? Why'd you offer this? Why'd you make it?
And it seems like the bigger. It seems like the bigger too. It's kind of that corporate thing, right? The bigger they get, the more decisions start changing, and it's not the small,
the harder
lovable mom and pop gaming company that you like. You know,
that's right.
And I'm finding that with not just them but other gaming companies too.
Any company. Once you get so big, it's just like a Hollywood star, right? Like there's Hollywood stars you love when they're young actors, and you're just like this guy. You'll watch him on talk shows, and you're like, that's my guy. He's a real dude right there. 10 years from then, you're like, oh, he's crazy.
He's lost.
What the frick is he talking about? Yeah, he's just in this. Yeah, no, Jim Carrey's I think he's still an original weirdo. Yeah, but if you're talking, I'm talking about people that you could tell just kind of join the, the mold. They just kind of, I can't say this and I can't say that and I got to be. Here's one, for example, Kevin Hart. He's one of those. Love the guy. Well, he's was over the top when he was younger and getting started. Now he's gotten so big that he's regulated all the time. Regulated. Now, if you watch him just talk on interviews and stuff like that, he's a different guy.
Yeah.
Still think he's hilarious.
It kind of happened to Eddie Murphy, right?
Yep, Eddie Murphy the same way. Yep, things just you got to adapt.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't that way. I wish you could just be who you are. You got famous who you were. You shouldn't have to change for that.
Hey, I tell you, Robin Williams, man. You grow up on Robin Williams, and then you're high school age, and you watch his stand-up comedy. Oh my gosh!
And you're like,
whoa, shocked you.
Whoa! I thought he was like the cleanest guy out there.
Right.
Yeah, that's funny.
Clean, maybe.
I got a game
Harry,
that's I got a game that's kind of out of left field, which I kind of like games out of left field. If they're good, sometimes they're horrible. This one seems like they're really putting some time into it, so I'm going to mention it. This one's called, see if I can pronounce it right, Ghost of Tsushima? Tsushima? Tsushima?
Tsushima.
Tsushima. And this is basically a storyline game that is a samurai. Okay? And so basically, and this is based off of the true stories and events that happened in 1274. Okay? When the Mongols were taking over the areas that the samurais were the guardians of. And this guy is raised as a samurai. He's taught, this whole idea of we kill when we have to kill, and we look our enemies in the eyes and treat them with respect as we kill them. And you know what I mean? There's dignity within what a samurai is. That's what makes us a samurai. And then he basically just sees all of his people get raped and pillaged, and comes back with a vengeance, and they call him Ghost.
Okay.
He's kind of, the storyline looks like he's kind of fighting this battle internally too, where the true samurai in him knows he shouldn't just be going for blood, right? But him that saw everybody he knows and loves die is saying, screw it, I've got these skills, I'm going to use them. And so that's kind of the starting point for this story, if that makes sense.
It looks like the Sorry, it kind of looks like the backstory for that samurai on Dead by Daylight.
Oh yeah,
that's what he
true.
started.
Yeah.
He started his revenge and then turned into a monster.
Right. And that may be because this is based off a true story, right? So the idea may be a lore from Japan, right? That actually exists that we're seeing that from in Dead by Daylight too. And so you're playing as this character, basically going through and doing dirt to these dudes that took everybody out, right? It says it's the biggest game Sucker Punch has ever made by a large scale margin between their last biggest game and this game.
This is the make and break right here.
Right.
This could turn them into a major player.
So, and the mechanics of the game looks pretty good. The graphics of the game looked good. The story sounded good, and of course the preview looked good. But it's interesting. Can I think of a modern day game where you play out as a samurai? I think it's kind of got that Assassin's Creed vibe and twist to it. You know what I mean? You can tell he kind of sneaks around. He kind of is an assassin type guy. Silent killing and things like that is part of the game. So it's got a little bit of that sneak aspect to it in some of the gameplay stuff. So yeah, that one looks interesting to me.
Like the Neo, I think it was Neo 2.
When's this supposed to come out?
Maybe. I don't know if
you're talking about the one I just mentioned or Neo.
Yeah.
No, Neo. Yeah. But it's similar. It's a samurai type deal, right? But it plays it plays kind of like
oh, I see.
Oh, what's the name? Now I can't think of the name. Super hard game. Medieval.
Yeah.
Not Bloodborne, but what's
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I know the people on the podcast are like,
good lord, yeah. Why did I go blank too?
I can't remember.
I have no clue what you're talking about. I'm not gonna lie. No idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
hold on, let me look.
Hunter's gonna look it up. But anyway,
let me bounce around on you. This one's coming out June 26th, 2020.
Okay.
Ghost is coming out June 26th, 2020.
We'll have to check it out too. Even if it's single player, that's something we could do campaign wise.
Yeah, it's a full single player. I didn't see anything about it being open world. I don't think it is.
Well, we can
I think it's more like God of War. You
know, another game, and this is going back to the past that I liked, is the Dynasty Warriors games. and that's the one where you can multiplayer together, but you just go through and fight tons and tons of soldiers. But it's based off the Asian wars, right? So you're different generals within that area of history, and you
we haven't played Gears 5 either. That's a co-op game.
No, we haven't.
I know we would have a blast plan.
Mm-hmm. We just got to check
a few of them out there we haven't got to yet.
That Xbox Live PC thing. We got to check that out and see how it works. We haven't done it yet.
Yep.
Any other games that you're looking for, Hunter? That you're looking forward to? As we wrap up here.
There's nothing like I found this game by Ubisoft also that is a pirate game. It's called Skull and Bones. Mm-hmm. It looks pretty interesting.
I think I've heard of Skull and Bones actually. Now that you mention it, I think I've seen it.
That's funny. Skull and Bones. Me and the wife had a conversation just yesterday about the what do you call it? Secret Society Skull and Bones.
Oh yeah.
That some of the elite are attached to, like the Bushes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so that's weird that you just say that because I haven't even heard that term for a long time. I mean, we know where that comes from.
Freemason and Illuminati, but not so much Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
Man, I'm still trying to figure out what that game is. Why am I blinking so hard on it?
I've got one left. If you don't have any, Clint, this one looks really interesting to me.
I was just going to mention. You go ahead and do yours first. I'll do mine after.
Okay. This is my last one that I had on my kind of hey, what's up and coming interesting list. Mm-hmm. This one's called Godfall. Have you heard of it?
Mm-mm. I've heard the name, but I haven't actually checked into it.
Gotcha. Godfall is a basically it's a open world style game, like you would say Borderlands. It's a co-op game, 3-player co-op, drop in, drop out whenever you want to. So just like Borderlands, right? Except for this is a melee based game set up in kind of a mythological style where you're battling creatures and you're battling with the elements of the gods, if that makes sense. And so your character completely changes based on the what do you call it? I forget what they call it, but it's basically an armor set that you have, right? Mm-hmm. And your character will look different and everything when you wear this armor set. And so your essence is captured within that, and then it's going to be how you fight, what your strengths are, things like that. There's basically 5 different worlds within this world, and it's the elements, I think it is. So you've got earth, wind, fire, water, and then spirit. Are these different places to go battle within. And each one of these areas look completely different and have completely different kinds of characters to battle. And all of your battle is virtually melee, maybe a little bit of bow and arrow, might be like the extent of projectile fighting. But it looks pretty epic. The creatures look pretty epic. Your characters look pretty good. The graphics look good. This would be a PS5 first release, so should come with the new PS5 and on PC, guys. If you're listening, but it's a PS5 exclusive when it comes to the consoles. Okay. But yeah, Clinton. Godfall. You should definitely check it out. It looks interesting.
Yeah. I've seen Godfall. I've seen the previews for it, but Clinton, it's called Dark Souls.
Yeah, Dark Souls.
That's right, Dark Souls.
Man, why could I not remember that? Any other time I remember it, but not today apparently. The final, I actually had 2 games I was going to mention. First one I'll kind of go over fast because there's not a lot to it, right? Is Dying Light 2. I'm going to keep my eye out for that one. Just because we love zombie games, right? And Dying Light was very reminiscent of Dead Island. Kind of had that style, that first-person perspective. It had some cool little features that they added to that. So Dying Light 2,
now that's co-op too, like Dead Island, right?
I think Dying Light 2 is going to be, I'm not... Dying Light 1...
Was number 1?
I think it was.
I think it was, yeah.
So, that's going to be something to kind of keep your eye out for. I think the zombies in that one can kind of run and jump. So, that kind of made that game more interesting. Sweet. For the zombie fix, I'm going to be watching out for that. Probably won't buy it when it releases, but I will, possibly get it if it's successful. And that's coming out in the spring. That's for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. And then the final game that I wanted to mention, which is zombie related, but the only way you're going to get this one is if you have a PlayStation 4, is The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh, really?
Which has been delayed indefinitely at this point, so we don't know when it's going to come out now because of everything that's went down. But, you know, definitely want to get back into Joel and Ellie's storyline, which is...
Yeah, The Last of Us is the one that I asked you about recently and said, how was that? And you were like, yeah, it's definitely good. That's one I was out of gaming when that came out. Yep.
Let's put it this way: I'm not great anymore at finishing story campaigns by myself. And my brother-in-law Sean let me borrow the game, or he shared it with me, through PlayStation, and I beat it.
Yeah,
I beat
it. And that's only on PlayStation.
That's only going to be on PlayStation 4. So that's a PlayStation.
How long did it take you, Clinton?
I think overall, with having a newborn at the time. 2 weeks, I think.
Wow. Yeah, I think I did it in like 5 days or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably putting in maybe an hour a night, something like that, maybe,
Okay.
Throughout the week.
Yeah, I've heard that game has an awesome story and everything to it, and great gameplay. I need to look into that.
Yeah, so it looks really good. I know it'll be good. It's just when's it going to come out, As far as
single player only also, right? I mean, it's no co-op.
From what I know of, yeah. Anything you guys, just to wrap up the show, anything you guys want to see in these next gen consoles, or that you're hoping for? What do you think the big jump will be, or what do you want to see in it?
For me, it's just immersive. I want to be more immersive. I don't know what that looks like. Obviously I'm not the one that develops these types of things and understands what could be next edge or what's right around the corner. But man, that's the whole point for me in video games and books and movies, is to take me to a new place that I can get away from the reality. So next gen, I mean, just diving deeper into the submersiveness of I'm in this game, like taking you to a new place, just like we were saying with Cyberpunk, no limits. Like, think of a game where there's no limits. Like, you can just go into every building and it's different. Every building's different. It's a real life map. Stuff like that is what I'm kind of pumped to see.
Yeah.
I think, and that may not be just in the next gen, but whatever.
Well, I think we're on the edge though, right? Because I mean, if you think of if developers would think of, okay, well maybe this map doesn't need to be as big, right? You could start shrinking your game down, but have it incredibly detailed, right?
Right.
To the point that it would blow people's minds.
Right. And I think as we see more cloud-supported gaming, like we're seeing more and more PlayStation and Xbox games that are also, they're not just more powerful consoles, but you're also getting some backup from the cloud for processing and things like that, right?
Yeah.
That's why they're only be able to be played online, if that makes sense. So we saw, the big dud that we just mentioned, Crackdown 3, try to really use that. And it didn't happen, right? Like it didn't happen well. That's how they were going to make the whole world destructible and all that kind of stuff. I think that's the next stage. But if you combine that with a what I would call a localized AI, meaning it's an AI that's limited, right? Just like we're seeing graphics updated by AI now that are phenomenal. So if you brought an AI into a game that could do things like shift the game all the time. The developers are not having to work on it, but the AI is learning how the gamers are playing, and it says, look, we need to have some event happen over here with this gang where this whole city block is leveled, and now this thing's happening. And the AI just develops a new story consistently as you play the game. I think that's something in the next 3 to 5 years we're looking towards. I think that's something that we've never even really thought about much before, but we know AI is capable of doing it. It's how they're going to implement that into gaming that would make sense, right? Because then that AI would take, obviously the base graphics are designed by these guys who are coming up with the idea for the game and giving the AI some parameters. And then the AI would go, look, here's what we're going to do here, boom, whatever's going to happen. You're going to have trees or plants or whatever that's growing or cropping up depending on what you did in the world and what building you destroyed and some things, stuff like that. I don't know. I see more computer interaction with the actual world that's going to adjust it on a real-time basis. I think that's something I'd like to see.
And we're seeing that come in with like survival games, You play, these different games, and you're starting to get kind of this agriculture idea to it, right? Like you can build, you can build things, or you can plant things, and they grow over time. Some of those things that you don't usually see happen over time in a game. So,
yeah, you're seeing that's kind of a Sims vibe. You're pulling Sims over to more realistic games, and I'm saying I'd like to see that, but also things that are unpredictable, right? Like suddenly.
Right.
There's this, you've been playing this mission, or you've been doing this thing that's been working forever, and suddenly now when you go on that mission, that entire path is blocked because some other gang blew up that building, and you can't get through that way, and it changes the entire mission, and all that's been designed without some big update. You get what I mean? Like something like that feels very live, I think would be awesome. I also think we should see a divide within the graphics. I want to see some people just go super, super realistic. Like some of that Unreal 4 engine stuff that we were looking at early on. That was, remember like 6 months ago, that was just like mind-blowing. I want to see that in games where it's like, this is real life. That looks like some real people talking. I want to see that. And then I want to see the other side where they make a fantasy world that's so sharp and so realistic but fake that it still immerses you, like Hunter's saying. Like, say this game, I think this game, what was it called? Gods and Monsters? I think that game is taking a good twist. If they stick to what people are thinking on the graphics, they're taking a good twist to, we're going to go very, very high-end on the graphics, but we're not going to go realistic in accordance to your world, but we're still going to go really, really in-depth sharpness and detail, but in an artificial world. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To where it feels very real, but like a whole nother world, like we went to some other dimension. That's something I want to see too.
Right. I think with anything long term like that too, you have to be thinking that way. Like that's one of World of Warcraft's big successes was they did a very cartoonish animated look to it. That now, as they update the new zones, their art has gotten way better. So when you look at the art style of it is phenomenal now, but really it's still art. If that makes sense. Whereas games that were made in 2004 that went for the very realistic vibe, that were games that wanted to be MMOs, well, they age very badly. And so it's easier for these games to kind of adapt with those art styles. So.
Well, yeah, I guess that's the difference we're talking about. I want to see a progress in photorealistic. That's what we're talking about. I want to see photorealistic go all the way, but then I also want to see the artistic go all the way. I don't want to see kind of this.
It's like give me the best of both.
Because it's because what you see some of the artistic guys go is, well, it's artistic. It doesn't have to look real. Bullcrap. I want to see real looking artistic. I want to see something that's just the top sharpness and detail, but even in it being artistic.
It's like you're playing in a painting, right?
It's right, exactly. Create your own realm of what we call, the problem is we call realistic, right? Which would involve the mechanics of the physical world we know. You can create your own. Create your own forms of, you don't have to work within the realms of gravity and everything that we know and wind. Do your own thing, but make it feel so immersive that it feels right. Like it feels real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On a small scale, I think a game like Portal did that. You played Portal and you're like, it's crazy. Your mind has struggle in the beginning of like how it feels, but it still feels real. Like you're starting to expect this is what happens when I do this. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that was mind just seeing the Portal and seeing yourself in it, nothing had ever done anything like that before. And you're just thinking, like, you're almost like when I first saw it, I was almost thinking, like, how in the heck did they do this?
Right.
It doesn't even make sense.
And we're doing that
now, looking back, you're like, oh, that's simple. They just programmed it that way. But back then, and so I think we're going to see more stuff like that, for sure.
We're heading in the right direction in gaming. Like I said, with VR, nothing like some of the VR stuff I've done, right? I can't replicate that experience. And so, there's some limits to it, but there's also things about it that make it amazing,
Right.
So I love the way that we're headed in gaming. I'm super excited. I want it to happen now before I'm too old and can't see it or hear it. Right. So I need it to kind of happen within the next
someday, Clinton, they'll be able to just hook it straight into the brain, so it won't matter if you can see here or
if Elon Musk can hook us up here, we'll be set.
I'd love to see a campaign game kind of do what Alan Wake said they were going to do. But, new age with the high-end graphics. Like, say, we all like watching shows, right? But let's have a series, a show, that comes out with maybe it's got 2 hours of gameplay, and we get a new episode every week.
Yeah,
And these guys are releasing this new stuff, and with the help of AI, you can do it. On normal people, that would be almost impossible back in the day, right? Because you build an entire game, and it's got 8 hours of gameplay. So you can't give somebody 2 hours or an hour of gameplay every week. You just can't do it. Unless you design 40 hours ahead of time, and then, you know what I mean? Yeah. But in the modern day, I think you can. Once you build the engine for that game and the background stuff for it, and you've got AI helping you, and you've got a storyline planned out, just like a movie or show, and we got these characters that work through this thing that when you're done with that game, maybe you're never done with it, right? Maybe a year from now, we've got 200 hours logged on a campaign game. That would be, I'd be in. Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a blast.
That kind of toggled a little memory in my head, which was within this last year. I saw a game that was being made that's like a detective type game, and it's literally a movie.
Perfect.
It's a game, and everybody logs in either through their phone or through their controller on the PlayStation or whatever. It's like a party game, and you sit down, you watch it, and the whole group votes on what that character is supposed to do at crucial points within the game.
Yeah,
and then it dictates what happens within that, and there's different endings and things like that.
That's pretty cool.
Like an interactive show. You're basically playing an interactive show. I think people would love it.
Yeah,
as long as the quality's good and the story's good. Oh man, especially if you started bringing in like good actors. Jeez, money.
Yep,
that'd be so fun.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I think big future gaming, like mashing me and Ryan's look on it is. Big future gaming, the next steps that I would like to see in generations to come is, like I said, immersing us into the game more in some way, whether that's VR or just making things feel more realistic in your controller, stuff like that. And then 2, I think if you can really take what No Man's Sky did, refine it, and make it something really good, like Ryan's talking about AI changing things, the algorithms, stuff like that. I mean, you could make a whole city on algorithms just like No Man's Sky did with these planets.
Right.
And you walk into a room, okay, well, it may have some of the same types of bases that another room has, but it's going to be different. Does it make sense? So I think we'll see stuff like that. But I do hope that somebody tries to amp it up and learn it and get better at it before that they launch a game with it. You know? Have some weird looking fridges in somebody's room if you did No Man's Sky's algorithms right now.
Right.
It can kind of ruin things, right? Say you're that first big guy who's going to come out with a show series game, right? An actual playable game. Maybe you play it with a decent group of friends, right? Maybe there's 10 people that always play in that group at that time, and it's just like a regular show premiere. Thursday nights, it comes out at 7, whatever. You can pick whatever time you play, but that's when it launches, right? And you go in and you're playing that game. If somebody comes out with that and then just flops, it ruins it. It's like now you're delayed another 3-4 years. Nobody else is even going to try. Yeah. And so I hope whoever makes that big move really sticks it
first, right? You need the little guys to push it, and then the big guy goes, he had some success with that. Let's take it and adapt it. Yeah. So from what I hear from you guys is it sounds like immersion, graphics are important, but you guys are leaning more towards I want to interact. I want these ideas of being able to control things within the game or have the game actually constantly surprising you or just some of that interaction stuff. Like, I think it would be cool to start using our mics that are built into our controllers and our cameras and our, start allowing us to communicate with the game to an extent, right? That'd be sweet.
Definitely.
Just make it feel more real. I think that's what I want to see in the future.
I think I'm leaning towards you guys on that for sure. But then some of this stuff, like we see these live concerts happening now, and I mean, who knows? Here in 5 years, are we truly going to be in a Netflix
thing for me.
Party kind of mode of gaming where we all just jump into this one game and it's a creative, outlet of we're dictating what's happening, but then the game reacts in a way, so you never have the same experience. You can essentially just get lost in your favorite world.
Right.
Maybe we are headed that direction. It's definitely possible though. Now that we have,
I think we're seeing the beginning
avenues.
of a merge of media for sure. Right. I think
Mm-hmm.
we're finally seeing good shows and good movies and good comics and good stories translate across the board more evenly.
Mm-hmm.
To where used to, if it was real strong in one area, like a strong game's not going to make a strong show, and a strong show is not going to make a strong game. Now we're kind of seeing more like universes, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
Marvel universe. We're seeing things where people are going, okay,
You can get
this
lost
is
in your favorite
this
thing.
story, yep, and we're going to bring it across the board so you can experience it in 6 different ways. I love that idea.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
But the greatest part of it all is gaming's the only one that's really taking all forms, right? Because
Yeah.
it can take the acting, so
Mm-hmm.
the animation part makes it feel like the movie, right?
Right.
But then you have the interaction, you have the music, now we have the live streams and things that you can implement
Mm-hmm.
within a game. Um, so I mean,
You have control.
it's gaming's really becoming the new
Well,
melting
you're
pot
seeing,
of culture, so to speak.
yeah, and if you just look at the last 8 years, I would say you're seeing. Used to, people would write. You'd have gamers write. Does that make sense? Like guys who are gamers, they'd write for a game, to where if you were like an in-depth, good story writer, you're writing like for a show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to pitch that for a show or a movie. Now you're seeing that happen, it's specifically for games. There's more money there than there used to be. There's more attention than there used to be, and so you're getting these deep stories and deep ideas for games that used to, if they were over a certain level, they'd go to another form of media. Does that make sense?
But I think
and
that's
now
the
you're not
shift
seeing
of-
that happen as much.
And that's the shift of generations, right? Because now we're all adults. We grew up on video games too, so you
Right,
kind of already
right.
have that passion within society now. That's tasted that interactiveness that the older generations never could understand because they didn't, either it was just
Right.
kind of too beyond them, so to speak. And now we're getting people in there that understand it and are finally doing it all justice, so to speak.
What's always mind-boggling to me is when I just sit back and I go, Ryan, calm down, and realize that you have no idea what it'll be like 20 years from now.
Yep.
No freaking clue.
How much information we have now? That's crazy.
Think about it. 20 years ago, think about the fact that there's no way, even as a 14-year-old, when you're old enough to start thinking about that kind of stuff, that you're going to go, yeah, when I'm 34, I think this is what will be. You have comes kind of like fake imagination, right? Like you're thinking of some future driving cars and stuff like that. But the actual technology and how things actually change, it's not there. You just can't think of it because it doesn't exist yet,
Well, think
And
20,
so
20
it's
years
weird to
ago,
think 20 more.
20 years ago, we were saying, wouldn't it be cool if I could hook up with you at your house from my house?
Yeah.
Think of that for a minute, because online gaming wasn't really. It probably was in certain circles, but definitely not within, across the entire country.
It definitely wasn't as accessible as it is now, for sure.
I remember The Sims did The Sims Online, and it just sucked balls and crashed because their crappy dial-up internet that we were using back then couldn't handle it. So you had these chat rooms just crashing that was trying to run the game online. And 20 years later, here we are just, we're pissed because we're having some connection issues with our buddies while we're playing video games, right? So,
20 years later, we can now play the other person's computer from our computer.
That's true. We can do that.
Not only can we play with them, we can play their console from our console.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's pretty wild, man.
Yeah.
And then, not to mention the leaps we've taken in VR in probably just the last couple of years. VR is one of those things that I'm very hopeful in the future. I'm not huge on it right now because I do feel like everything I've seen needs a little bit more tuning, especially because I get very motion sick. So
Right.
if I'm going to jump in there and spend time to get motion sick, I need it to be excellent. And so
I think there's a lot of people like you, and it's kind of got VR on the edge. Right, because they want to push it, but there's so many people that still have a lot of issues with VR. Even the people who do okay with it, it's not like it's completely comfortable. You're still dealing with.
I was just about to
some
say
extent.
that. So for me,
I
as
get
someone
very
that's an
nauseous.
early adopter, right? I went and bought the PS4 headset.
Right.
It's just now with the kids running around like crazy, It's a little too hard to set up, the cords, all the hookups. I'm just like, I don't feel like dragging that thing out. I want to play it, but it's not worth it. So I think now that we see wireless
it only fits
happening,
specific needs, specific timing. It's almost like Wii. It's just not as wide used.
Right. I think that'll change as well. So, but we're headed in the right direction in that front. I think. I think it's at least established strong enough to where you're going to see the companies really pushing to make it better.
You know when I'll be on board to jump into some VR is when it's on Ready Player One's level.
Yes.
I'll be ready then.
Sweet. The thing that's funny about that, you say that, but think about all the futuristic stuff we've seen in the past, and now the way we're living is like way better than what they actually predicted.
Mm-hmm.
So think of that with Ready Player One, right?
Well, we're not. I mean, there's some predictions in movies and things like that. They had these ideas that we'd already be in flying cars and this kind of stuff by 2020, and we're not there.
I think that's more just it'd be too expensive, right, for them to do that. They probably could produce it, but it's not on that mainstream level. Level.
Well, then you got to think about all the idiots that can't even drive on wheels.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're putting them in a flying
vehicle,
and that's just not good.
No.
I think we're going to see, like we've seen self-driving, we're going to see self-driving way before we'll see flying, because in order to do flying cars, it's going to have to be 100% self-driving. Or else everybody's going to have to get their pilot's license,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, overall, I think we've covered all the bases. I think Ryan had a little mishap with his headset, maybe.
Dog chewed through it or something?
No, I think she knocked the cord out, so he's messing with that, I think. Pretty sure. That's okay, we're right here at the end.
Well, what I've been thinking about during this COVID-19 outbreak is that, you look at some of these movies that you've seen. One that comes to mind is Gamer. I think that's what it was called, with Gerard Butler.
Mm-hmm. And
where he was being taken over by a person. But in this futuristic world, people just live from inside. Like, they didn't go out. All their stuff was done socially, social media, and it's kind of depressing to look at. But then something happens like this, and you realize, that might not be too far from reality someday. Mm-hmm. That we really we've gotten to a point where our population's grown on Earth, and it's just like we're going to go out for essentials like groceries and this and that. And for the most part, we're going to stay inside and be able to reach out, and there's some sad parts to that, but there's also...
I think you're going to see situations with robots that can be controlled from home.
Right.
Via the computer.
Go grocery shopping for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like iRobot.
Or you can just work it from a site, right? It needs to do these certain tasks, and you just kind of control it. Like you have that now with surgeries. Doctors can do surgeries through robotics. They're not actually reaching in with their arms. They're having little robots go in and do it for them, and they're just they're controlling it. So I think that's a future too.
I just saw an invention that's looking for funding right now. That is basically for kitchens, right? Like what do you call it? Not like your kitchen, but like commercial kitchens, right? Mm-hmm. And it runs the fryers. It's got an automated interface system on it, and it's not super multifunctional, but it keeps track on what needs to be dipped when and at what time it needs to pull out, and it's just an arm that runs the fry machines. Mm-hmm. And for fast food, man, that's groundbreaking. You think about that.
It's designed
to. Yep, it's designed to mount to your already existing setup. You don't have to get new fryers or anything like that. And it's got AI built into it and actually learns new processes and new recipes and different things like that as it learns.
Yeah,
it sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I think that's I'm one of those people. I don't get too worked up over the jobs that are going to get lost, because in all reality, if you think about it, people could have said that kind of stuff back when everybody used to farm, right? Everybody used to farm, and then we came out with big systems that would take down and harvest all of the corn with this giant truck that covers 30 foot as it drives past and throws all the corn in. Well, that took tons of people's jobs. Well, that just moved them to a less hard job, right? Mm-hmm. We just created new jobs. Now you needed guys that build those things, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of the farmer having to pay for the thing. And so we've got more people than we've ever had, and there's more jobs than there's ever been. So I'm not really, I think there's a weird mentality that goes with the Technology is going to take our jobs.
I agree. There is a give and take to that.
Well, it's like computers.
15-year-old high school kids that are working at McDonald's fryers aren't going to be putting these robots together. So
yeah, but computers were going to take our jobs.
Yeah, but
now all of a sudden we have all these IT people that fix computers.
Right.
Yeah, but if you went back 20 years, 15-year-old high school kids didn't work at McDonald's. They did something else. That's what I'm saying. 15 years ago, they went and worked on the farm and picked cotton or whatever, not 15 years ago, but you know what I'm saying? If you go back,
I'm not arguing
everything changes. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not arguing that they're going to take all of our jobs. I'm just saying usually when something stepped up like that, it's replacing a job. Right,
and you will see a flux. You'll see a down curve probably, and then a new opportunity because you're going to have more techs that need to know how to work on automated arms in restaurants. And then those guys will go up, and it's kind of a weird. I agree, going to be an odd dynamic there, but
I think
we're going to see major growth there.
I think I'm onto something with the robot thing though. To be able to put a robot in a dangerous situation and then have the person actually control it from the office. Completely different.
Well, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing in war right now. I mean, in battle, that's essentially what a drone is, right? Those kind of things. They're unmanned aircraft.
With surgeons and stuff, how they do robotic surgeries now. They don't even touch the patients. The machine doing it. They just control it.
Well, you think about it, like all these things that we're going through is shaping our future, and so. If you get to a point where you can have a fryer who fries itself, you have a burger flipper, a grill that can run itself, then you're going to replace it. You're cutting down on the sanitation is going to be better because it's all machines. And then at a place like McDonald's where their food is cookie cutter, that's perfect.
Perfect.
I mean,
perfect.
Now when you get into the high-end restaurants in New York and places like that where they have their own... story. Yeah, their own flair, and they're changing the menu every month. That's not going to fly. But these fast food restaurants, for sure. I mean, as soon as they can pull the trigger on that, they're going for it.
Yeah. So, I kind of prefer it. Cause
they don't want to act too excited because people will be mad at them. That mentality. They're going to go, wow, all these jobs are going to be gone. And so they're going to have to take it at a certain pace when in all reality, yes, that's exactly what we want to do. We're talking about 50% is what we're going to spend.
But
what we were
it makes them look cheap, but they're not cheapoing because they're going to have to pay for upkeep for those things and stuff like that,
Yeah. Then there's going to be a guy that
but you don't have liability, you don't have insurance, there's all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, your managers are going to be there just to make sure that robots are doing what they're supposed to.
Yep.
I'm all about that life. Bring it on.
The ice cream machine at McDonald's will still be down, though.
Yep, that's true.
No matter how bad
especially when it's 30 minutes before closing.
Oh,
sorry, we're cleaning out that ice cream machine. It's broke.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not closed yet.
Well, it was a good show, guys. I think we talked about everything we could. If you like the show, check us out over on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch.tv. We're there. We stream
everywhere.
We stream pretty much at least once every weekend, maybe more.
Yep.
And if you want to support us, check us out over on Patreon /Delirious Dads Gaming, and throw us a little change that way if you enjoyed the show. And with that said,
stay delirious,
stay dadding,
and stay gaming. This has been a Delirious Dads production. For more information about the show, visit our website at www.deliriousdadsgaming.com. You can also find us on facebook.com/deliriousdadsgaming, twitch.tv, and YouTube. Make sure you like and share our pages to help us grow the channel. You can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. Please leave a rating and review if you enjoy the show. Thank you again for listening, and we hope to see you next time.